This actually looks pretty good. We got a news update, and there's some smart changes in this one. And for the most part, I haven't read it, but I did glance through it, and I was very briefly fairly impressed. So this is the Season 13 Battle Pass, okay? This is going to be a minor update. This is not a major update. There's new legendary items, new Battle Pass, Helliquary Gauntlet mode, which in and of itself is completely new, 3 new events, and a bunch of updates, okay? But let's get into these updates, because these updates are actually kind of fire. So the first one we have here is the Helliquary Gauntlet. This is effectively you fight a whole bunch of bosses in a row. I love this because the bosses are cool and fun parts of the game, and you get to team up with your friends. You get rewards typically. And look at this, green items. We already got a green item reward in the Gauntlet. This is great. New boss mode. What it is it's a boss rush mode. So effectively you fight one of them after defeating him, the Straggling Sun, you know, then you get this unlock, which will basically make it where all the demons come in a row. There's a new leaderboard that has the Helliquary Gauntlet, which effectively gives you rewards, but also there's a champion frame that you get to keep permanently this time instead of just the warband one that's temporarily. This is effectively like a Helliquary boss rush mode. Okay, it's actually pretty cool. I'm excited for that personally, and it gives us a reason to have more combat rating. Look how much combat rating is the requirement, so we're probably getting a new hell difficulty. So as we scroll down here, Helliquary raids have been updated in 2 ways. When a player dies in the raid, resurrecting them will incur an increasing cooldown. This way you're not just spamming the res over and over again, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Typically, if you die, you're just staying dead till the raid's over because you're getting carried. When Helliquary bosses enrage, they will periodically emit a damaging pulse, which scales in damage after each use. So this is sort of, I think, make the enrage actually be able to kill people and be able to end the run if you don't do it in a certain amount of time. These are fine changes. I don't personally think this changes too much. I think they're just fair changes, okay? So I'm not too worried about that. Class balance and legendary item adjustments. Here's where we start to get into what makes me excited, because they're showing their hand by actually saying, we're not just going to be adding essences into the game. We will go back and retouch them if they're out of control, which is sort of what's happening here. And in my opinion, that is exactly what I want to see happen, because there's definitely essences that are stronger than others, which there should be. It is a Diablo game, but some of these are ridiculous. So let's see what they're actually changing. First of all, reduction of incoming damage for range classes. If you didn't know, there is the 30% damage reduction for melee classes, meaning Barbarian, Crusader, and Monk have innate 30% damage reduction. This is crazy because Monk and Barbarian are considered some of the best PvP classes. So because of this, they just have a massive advantage of 30% less damage. Now the ranged classes will have a 15% damage reduction. So if you're playing Wizard, Necromancer, or Demon Hunter, you are about to be buffed. You are about to now receive 15% less damage. I think, if I had to guess, this is the answer to a very common complaint that people are dying very fast in Battleground. I actually think this is a smart change to add that damage reduction kind of across the board. Now, it's 15%, not the 30. They still give more damage reduction to the melee classes because of the innate fact that it's melee and they have to be right up on them. I get the argument for it. This is not the first time in Diablo games that has been done, actually. However, if you look at this here, having the 15% damage reduction on squishy classes like Necromancer, Wizard, and Demon Hunter in PvP, I think that feels good. So I think that's a step in the right direction. Barbarian skill and legendary effects adjustment. So they're readjusting. The leap cooldown has been reduced to 9 seconds. So they're buffing the leap because people don't really use the leap. And the duration of Undying Rage has been decreased from 4.75 to 4 seconds. The amount of healing received from damage done to players has been decreased from 30% to 15%. The amount of healing will remain at 30% for damage done to monsters. So they nerf the healing in PvP. This is because when you see a whale walk up with the big wings, have 0 HP and Barbarian, last, all of almost 5 seconds here, is at 4.75, can basically heal the foe from the amount of crazy damage that they're able to do because they're so strong. So this is a smart deduction in both the healing, and I like to see the duration is down as well. I think this is smart changes in the right direction. So Barbarian has a nerf. Following adjustments made to existing functionality of several legendary items. So Animal Instinct's leap maximum charge has been reduced from 1 to 0.5 seconds, so it's a buff to leap. Chained Spear will now hurl 3 projectiles, but the same energy can only be hit by 1 projectile per cast. So that's a change there. I think that these are now considered projectiles instead of just, it's like a lash almost. Chain Spear will now hurl 3 projectiles, but the same energy can only be hit by 1 per cast. Same thing here. Same thing with the impellers. Now, Wrath of the Berserkers burn damage has been reduced. This is probably fair if it really hurts because I feel like the Firestorm build is like the most fun part about Barbarian, but if we're being honest, it's a little bit out of control. So I think they are targeting nerfing and targeting buffing the right things. When's the last time you see people using Leap? When's the last time you see people using things like Chain Spear? Every single person uses Wrath of the Berserker Burn. If you don't, you're kind of dumb. And then basically the Undying range is out of control. So these are correct changes, in my personal opinion. As somebody who likes Barbarian basically the most, I'm okay with that being nerfed at the moment. Let's move on to Crusaders here. I'd like to see some adjustments here for Crusaders. Sweep attack. The time to reach maximum charge has been reduced. This is a buff. You get more of them more often. And then adjustments to Adamant Lash. Spinning Shield will now be unable to stun the same player more than once every 3 seconds. So a little bit of a nerf to the CC there for PvP. Falling Swords time to reach maximum charge has been reduced. So again, easier to acquire these stacks of charges. Shield Charge now grants immunity to knockbacks for its full duration. That way you hit that button, you know that charge is going to happen. I think that's great. This is sort of like the Shield is in for Monk, where you're immunity to knockback, but now you can do it on the charge. So effectively, like Necromancers can't pillar you out of it. You can't get pulled very easily out of it. So I think that's a very nice change. Shield Charge time to reach maximum charge is reduced. Another buff. Looks like they're kind of buffing up Shield Charge here. Sweep attacks, uncharged and fully charged damage has been increased. So another buff to sweeping attack there. And then the delay time before Sacred Chain explodes has been reduced from 2 seconds to 1.5. So Crusaders mostly got a buff with one tiny nerf, or maybe it's not so tiny. The Spinning Shield is unable to stun the same players more than once every 3 seconds. So a little bit of a CC nerf there for your Spinning Shield. Everything else has gotten better through the Crusaders. So this is more good changes in the right direction for Crusader. Crusader needs buffs. I think this Shield Charge having an immunity to it is kind of interesting. I like to see smart changes like that. So I'm actually so far pretty excited by these changes. So Demon Hunter's skill. Let's see what Demon Hunter is going to get. The Knife Trap arming has been reduced in time, so it will arm quicker. And Knife Trap no longer has restriction on placing more than one trap in the same position. I like that. So you can spam these out and nuke them. Cooldown has been reduced on knockback shot from 12 to 9 seconds. That is a huge buff considering the latest essence is quite good. This actually seems very good. The Strafe maximum potential channeling time has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds. That's interesting because people don't really use Strafe that often. But then you see here the Strafe damage has been increased if you're using this essence. So there might actually be something to Strafe at the moment. I noticed that they keep trying to make Strafe a thing. They keep buffing them, adding new essences, etc. Looks like they're continuing that, and looks like buffs across the board for Demon Hunter with one that seems pretty decent, to be honest. Now Monks. This is probably the most requested changes in the game, is for Monks to get nerfed in PvP. So what do they do? Imprison's Fist damage has been increased, so they buff the Imprison's Fist damage. I don't think that's a huge deal. Mystic Strike's cooldown has been reduced from 12 to 9 seconds. That's a buff. We're going in the wrong direction here. Wave Strike's uncharged and fully charged damage has been increased to reach its maximum charge time has been reduced from... So these are all buffs so far. I'm waiting to see what's going on here. Wave Strike's damage has increased and the maximum potential channeling time has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds, so that's another buff. Wave of Light's damage has been decreased. There we go. Subsequent hits on the same enemy have been reduced from 30% to 25% damage. So effectively, they have nerfed a bit of Wave of Light's Shimmerland damage. So the Shimmerland damage is down 5%. Probably would have liked to see that down more, 10, if I'm being honest. And I feel like we're buffing a lot of the other things about Monk here. And then Wave Strike damage has been increased and the attack animation will end sooner. So a lot of buffs to Wave Strike. Imprisoned Fist got a small damage increase. Mystic Strike cooldown has been reduced. So a little bit of buff on some of the ones that aren't getting used as much here, like Wave Strike, but a nerf to Wave of Light, which is the primary offender in PvP. So they are going the right direction with the main nuker in PvP, but it's weird to me that we are seeing buffs at all for the Monk, to be honest. Let's continue. Necromancer, your boy is currently a Necromancer. The following represent adjustments made to the base version of each skill. Corpse Explosion. Enemies struck by multiple simultaneous explosions now take 30% cumulatively reduced damage for each additional hit instead of the previous 40%. Wait, is this a nerf? Enemies struck by multiple explosions now take 30% cumulative damage reduced for each instead of 40%. Okay, so it's a 10% buff in the right direction. They only take 30% reduce instead of 40% reduce. So it's actually a buff to Corpse Explosion. And Grim Scythe, the damage has been increased and now generates 3 corpses instead of 2. I like to see that they're trying to make the corpse thing better. Some of my feedback for the Corpse Explosion is it's a staple move and doesn't really feel that great. So I think this might be a little bit of an answer to that. Kulfurize, Command Skeleton's Explosion damage has been increased. I love to see this because I've tried making this build an actual thing. I actually have a video on this build trying to make Command Skeleton's Explosion paired with the Explosion Spiders into an actual thing. Skeletons are now raised every 6 seconds instead of the previous 8. This is actually a good change. This gives you a more of an economy for being able to create these exploding bomb skeletons. I actually like that a good deal. Grim Size maximum chargement increased from 1 to 2 and will generate corpses each time enemy is hit. That is a buff. And then Grim Size's maximum chargement increased from 1 to 2 and will now generate corpses for each enemy hit. That is a buff as well. So right direction on this. They're focusing on the corpse stuff for Necromancer. It is Necromancer that makes sense. Instead of just having summons and kind of ignoring the corpses on the ground, other than maybe using Corpse Lance, this is a pretty good change. So I'm excited to see that they're working more on Corpse Explosion for the Necromancer. Let's look at Wizards here. So Arcane Intensifier, Disintegrate cooldown has been reduced from 12 to 9. I think that Arcane Intensifiers is the insta-cast Disintegrate Shoulders, if I remember correctly. And that seems to be a smart change because I don't think many people use that one. Ice Armor damage has been increased in Heart of the Storm. I actually have used this essence, and I like it a good deal, so I like to see that buff. Ray of Frost cooldown has been reduced from 12 to 9 seconds. Again, I think that's kind of the instantaneous cast there. Ray of Frost damage has been increased on the Robes of Avalanche, and Ice Armor damage has been increased. So mostly these are buffs to things that people aren't using at all. They're trying to have some changes to make the insta-cast beams a little bit better, and then it looks like they're also trying to have the passive armor damage be increased. I like that. Okay, so these are all good changes. Arguably, the monk changes don't make any sense. I mean, I get the Shimmerling gets nerfed. That's a good one. The rest of these are like, okay, thank God, pretty much right on target. Very good class changes for the most part, especially understanding Barbarian needs to be nerfed. So I think that is nice. It's also nice that they recognize Shimmerland is too strong. So at least we know their headspace is in the correct thing. I think monks could have been nerfed harder, if I'm being honest. But also, we have to take in account that the ranged class is now at 15% incoming damage reduction. So they're reducing the damage and healing and undying and stuff for like the Barbarian and the monk. But then they're also reducing the amount of damage we're receiving as ranged classes too. So they're probably waiting to see how the balance goes out before they really take the nerf hammer too hard to some of these classes. Okay, so let's continue. Accursed Towers. We've received a variety of feedback around what tower bonuses and have adjusted both this tower and improved Cursed Shards gathering to better balance the Accursed Towers. Starting with the next season, the 20% increase to damage provided by the tower will be replaced with the bonus that increases 10% life in Battlegrounds. That is a nerf that needed to be had. And I'm going to say it right now because the 20% damage in PvP bonus for the tower, and by the way, we own one, so this is going to hurt my clan. I don't care. This is the right 20% increased damage in PvP unbalances the Battlegrounds is kind of bullshit. And also, I feel like makes it a little bit more RNG where okay, do I have somebody it's not in the equation of matchmaking. Do I have somebody who is in a clan that has 20% increased PvP damage on my team? Because that might actually really help my team out, And you don't really get to decide things like that when it comes to the matchmaking algorithm. So I don't like the fact that 20% increase to PvP damage was added to the game. I also think specifically people die too fast in Battlegrounds. I think that's part of the reason the 15% reduced incoming damage was added on ranged classes. They're obviously dying too fast in Battlegrounds. So now going from the damage to increasing your life, way in the right direction. And plus, this also means that people are going to probably be more incentivized to fight over other towers. It's actually quite often that the PvP damage towers are like the only ones people really want to fight for, and you'll just kind of cycle them around, etc. So I like that. I actually, even though I'm going to be doing 20% less damage in PvP myself, I actually prefer that massively. I think this is a really good change. I think that this was a stupid addition to the game that have 20% increase in PvP, and now that it's gone, I think that's way, way better. I also think this massively decreases the value of this tower, and most people are probably going to pick something else up now. Additionally, the pickup radius of Cursed Shards in PvE has been increased, so it's just a little bit quality of life there and picking them up when you're doing the PvE. Battleground Q cancellation penalty iteration. So Battleground Q cancellation penalty that was introduced has been iterated. Now players who cancel it will incur a penalty that increases upon each offense with a maximum 20-minute penalty where offenders won't be able to queue. This is nice. I just heard from people in Oceania that they have one guy who sits there and trolls on 2 accounts and blocks out like all day long, just blocks out their PvP. And so, I mean, you can go like an hour hour in a row or something, not be able to get PvP. So it's nice to see this types of change to get rid of what they call negative behavior, aka trolling. This is a smart change. So far, we've had pretty W changes. I'm going to be honest. These are pretty fat fucking W changes. Activity calendar, I don't care. I don't remotely care about activity calendar. To equip clans and warband distro scheduling and the option to schedule an event to recur weekly. Sure. Cosmetic inventory display. The cosmetics in the inventory cosmetic display will now display rarity frames. So this would just show you like which of your cosmetics are the more expensive or better ones. And you can view the equipped cosmetics on others to see which cosmetics they have. And then the chance of obtaining new bestiary page is increased for the first time each day. I was wondering, why do we have like the 3 bestiary turn-ins a day, but they don't actually do anything or whatever, and you still get points afterwards, and it doesn't seem to increase the page. So I like this a lot. Now we can actually try to get the bestiary page a little fast. These are all good. These are all W changes. I actually like all of this. So far, this is all like smart, good, exactly what I feel like I've seen a bunch of people complaining about. All of this is good. Okay, this is all W's so far. Season 13 Battle Pass, don't really care about. It's going to be another 40 ranks and pretty cool looking skin, kind of like it. Knight's Pinty. It looks good on the Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter is popular right now. People like that. Fractured Plane is coming back. Thank God. Fractured Plane, one of the best events in the game. You gotta love that. And then we're getting Shady Stock back. I actually really like Shady Stock too. So some people said they don't like this one. I actually really like this one. It's just free legendaries and dopamine. And then the Scorched Sea limited time event is coming back, which gives you, I think this one actually gives you a frame. If I remember right from before, I did this one and I had a frame from that. So maybe it was only the first one. I don't see the frame in the rewards here, but this is something we've experienced before. So these are all events we've done before, and all of them are easy ones with decent rewards. And then there's some new bug fixes, which we're just going to check real quick to see if they have any bug fixes. May 2nd, minor UI issues, Hungry Moon issues with some crashing, and it looks like they fixed some crashing, and that's about it. So if you're looking at this, oh man, I actually really like this. 15% damage reduction in PvP. It looks like we're getting the 20% damage tower is getting stripped away. Thank God. I actually like a lot of this patch. To be honest, the balance changes seemed pretty all spot on for the most part. They're focusing on stuff that people don't use, like the instacast raise and the corpse explosion. They're trying to like bring up the floor while reducing the ceiling a little bit, squishing everyone a little bit more towards middle. Obviously, some builds are always going to be better than others. It is a Diablo game, but step in the right direction. Pleasantly surprised. I had no previous information that these changes were coming to the game, and I didn't even know they were looking to rebalance this type of stuff. So the rare full W for a minor patch, that's a full W. And honestly, this Helliquary gauntlet is pretty cool. That's pretty cool too. So for me today, yeah, thumb up. I actually really like this one, guys.